Let's go to my great friend, Ben Tribbett. He is the Democratic political guru of all time. You can also find him at Not Larry Sabato. Ben Tribbett, one of the sharpest Democratic consultants and analytical minds out there. Ben, great to have you back here on the John Fredericks Show, man.
Hey, good morning.
So, Ben, I was so excited to have you on today because all of this political intrigue. Let's start on the Democratic side. Must win for Clinton, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the New York primary is it's a very strange primary because when you see Hillary having represented the state, but Bernie is from a neighboring area, it's hard to tell how this is going to break out. And Hillary has a lot of potential of getting embarrassed here.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think she'll win the state, but if she starts losing big areas of the state, say if she loses the upstate and Bernie carries, everything outside New York City, that's going to be very embarrassing, even if she carries the state. She needs to win big everywhere.
So, look, I had the unique opportunity, Ben, to follow the Bernie Sanders campaign for the week that I was in Iowa. I stayed at the same hotel with him, so I had a unique perspective that you just don't get on TV. And I told my audience after getting back from Iowa that I thought he was going to take her to Philadelphia because the level of enthusiasm I saw was incredible. And what is driving this? What is driving the apparent enthusiasm gap, especially among younger people, between Sanders and Clinton?
I think that, it's Hillary's just, I don't even know how to say it, John. But Hillary's just such old news that I think that the millennials, I don't know what she could do to get them to support her. I do think that some of them will fall in line for the general election, but I honestly think if it was her and any other name on the ballot, they would be beating her among millennials. The millennials just don't want her.
Mm-hmm. You look at the number of superdelegates she has, and a lot of people saying, forget Colorado. They're saying, look, the Democratic nominating process is completely rigged because you got these superdelegates. Sanders won 8 out of 9. He's still way behind. She's got 600 superdelegates to Bernie's 9.
Right. Well, I mean, the superdelegates, John, are it is rigged a little bit, but I will say this: Bernie won 8 out of 9 in fairly small states, so I mean that's why he's not making up the ground. And Bernie has to win a big state, and Hillary so far in all the big states has been crushing him. So you don't win the nomination without Florida, Texas, California, New York, any of the big states. Illinois went to Hillary. Bernie needs to win a big state.
They're saying they're going to win California. What do you think of that?
No, they're not going to win California.
No?
I think the nomination is basically over. I mean, the Republican nomination is going to be much more interesting and going on. I mean, Bernie's just going to continue on to push his issues out there. I don't think that he actually believes he can win.
All right, so you're in the belief that he's getting all this money in, so go ahead, go forward, push the issues out there, move Clinton to the left. Now, it seems like you're saying they're going to go to Philadelphia. It's hard to imagine that he beats her for the nomination. I don't think she's going to get indicted, so I think she's going to be the nominee. Who do you think she has to choose as a vice president to get people fired up?
I think that, she's going to pick an establishment person. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I don't think it would fire people up, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's Tim Kaine. She's going to try to play it very safe. Look, both Republican candidates are very, very, very unpopular with the public. Not that Hillary is extremely popular herself, but she's certainly more popular than the Republicans are right now. So I think you're going to see her play it very safe in the general election until she feels like she doesn't have to.
Okay, let's go Democrat locally, 4th District, Don McEachin running for Congress. Whoever the Democrat nominee is, they're going to win this district. Ella Ward battling him, Elliot Faust. Any chance at all that either of these candidates can beat McEachin?
I don't think so. I mean, Don McEachin's very strong. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine how you'd beat him. He's had a very good record winning primaries before too, and I don't think the other candidates have ever done that. So, I think that he'll do very well. Are we going to talk, John, about your campaign?
We can go right into that now. I'm running for national delegate, as my audience knows, from District 4 at the Republican Convention in Wakefield.
That's all I'm
Our
interested
official Councilman Robert Ike, my wife Ann, and myself running for a delegate that will be decided May 21st in Wakefield. And there's 17 other candidates in there and one official Trump team. Ben, and we're pulling out all the stops. So what do you think?
Well, I want to talk about what happened this weekend in the 9th District.
Yes.
Because that's Trump's strongest congressional district in the state.
Yes.
And the 9th District Convention only let him have 1 out of 3 national delegates. Again, 2 of them were stolen from him even after the voters voted for him, which is exactly what I predicted would happen across the state. You remember when we had the show in Richmond, and why your slate would have so much trouble, because the Cruz campaign is willing to steal any of these delegates. It's really shocking.
When you say steal delegates, and let's get to what happened in the 9th, outline that for our audience, Ben.
Essentially what happened is, whenever you have a primary, the person who wins the primary, everyone has to vote for them on the first ballot. And since Trump has done so well, a lot of the delegates are just Trump delegates. And so for the candidates that don't have delegates, they're having their supporters run as Trump delegates to flip their votes on the second ballot. Now, nobody voted for Trump in the primary in hopes that he would only get a vote on the first ballot. But they're basically putting people in place that are committed against voting for Trump as soon as it gets off the first ballot. And I'm starting to wonder, John, and this is something that hasn't been talked about on the national shows yet, but it's been on my mind, which is if you have these people elected as Trump delegates that are not Trump supporters, they're bound to Trump on the first ballot if they vote. There's nothing stopping those people from just being a delegate doesn't count the vote. You actually do have to show up on the floor and cast your ballot. And so the question is, are these non-Trump delegates that are sitting in Trump seats, if it's very close on the first ballot, vote. And if they don't vote on the floor, he won't get 50%, and then it will advance to a second ballot. So, I really think what we're looking at here is a stolen convention, and it's really going to upset the public when they see the kind of hijinks that I think Cruz has planned.
Okay, so let's go to that, Ben, and then we'll get back to my race. Because what you said, in fact, I had a couple callers earlier saying, how can they steal it if he gets over 1237? Obviously, one thing is they can change the rules and say, well, you need 1290. That's possible, doubtful, but technically it could happen. But when I talked to John Whitback, the chairman, he said that in the first ballot, the delegates don't really cast a vote, that it's simply, mailed in. The delegation has to vote by, I guess, whatever the Republican rules are in Virginia, whatever the allocation is in the party.
Well, you have to be present to vote, though. Like he can say that everyone has to vote that way, but you have to be like a vote. It's not just some thing that's a calculation. Like there's actually a vote.
So what you're saying, you have to physically be there and your vote. So are you saying, can somebody change their vote?
No, but I think that on the
or
first
do they just
ballot,
have to
if someone doesn't show up, there's alternates, and if the alternates aren't there to fill in, if they don't have enough alternates, then the votes are not cast. So, for example, let's say you're in a state that gave Trump 39 votes, and he only won 21 of the delegates, and maybe there's 12 alternates that are for Trump. Well, delegates walk off the floor at that time. There's only a total of 33 people there.
Interesting.
So he would only get 33 votes. And so that would keep him 6 shorter of where he needed to be. So, I think these are the kind of hijinks that I would expect to see at the convention, because this is the kind of campaign that Ted Cruz is running.
Look, he is running that kind of a campaign. You go to the 9th, and I think for a lot of Trump people there, they were shocked. That was the highest plurality he got in Virginia. He got nearly 40%. Cruz got like 15% or something. He got crushed in the 9th District. But Cruz gets 2 out of the 3 delegates. Why? Well, they pre-filed people. They got him there. They ganged up on the 3 Trump people, knocked 2 of them out that were running on the official ticket. So they were way behind there. And I think you're going to see that all over the state. My district is a little bit different because even though I'm not involved in this stuff like some other people are, We had enough knowledge to know that we had to go to the polls on primary day and stood out there for 8 hours, signed up, 80 or 90 people. We did that in several of the districts, Chesapeake and Chesterfield, and we've stayed in contact with our people and things like that. So we're better organized. We're raising money and things like that. But these other districts, I mean, it's possible in the state, 33 districts elected at the district convention level, Trump carried the state. I wouldn't be surprised, Ben, if he ended up with 5 of those.
Wow.
I think we're going to win because we have a very determined plan. But you look at some of these other districts, they just don't have a plan. The other thing, Ben, here that is going on, and I don't want to get into inside baseball, you'll understand this, but in a lot of these districts, the Trump people that are running for Trump delegate are involved in chairman and state central battles, and that is anathema to the Trump delegate ticket because it just gets people mad at you for no reason.
Right.
And so you're dividing up people, and it's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I mean, you can't fight 2 battles at once. And
right.
Obviously, that's also strategic of the Trump campaign of how do they put together slates of people that can get elected. And but I think that all the Trump delegates, John, are going to have problems even where they're well organized because the reality is, the Cruz people have done a better job of showing up to conventions. And I think that they will stop at nothing to win this nomination. And if they have to steal it, they're going to steal it.
So when you say stealing it, I mean showing up to the conventions and stopping the Trump people, that's not stealing it. That's just they're better organized and their people showed up. I mean, one of the downsides
I have to disagree with that, John. If Trump wins hundreds more delegates than Cruz, and right now he's hundreds ahead, and he's going to be even further ahead after New York, and then they use tactical plays such as running Cruz supporters for Trump delegates in order to win the nomination, that's stealing it. It'd be one thing if Trump legitimately was under 50%, his delegates were legitimately elected in his slots, and then, when he fell short, Cruz was able to cut deals with the other candidates to win the nomination. That's legitimate. Running Cruz supporters to be Trump delegates, that's stealing.
That is 100% right, Ben Tribbett. And let me tell you something else I'm not going to share on the air. There's one instance in my district where we know for a fact that one of the people who said, look, I'm a Trump delegate, put me on your ticket, we know for a fact this individual is not. And you're going to get that. You got a lot of people saying, sure, I'm open to voting for Trump on the second ballot or the third ballot or the first ballot. And the reality is they're not. They're there for one reason, and that's to stop Trump and give it to Cruz or someone else. So they're feigning them as Trump delegates. And the Trump team has not done, as we understand it around the country, a good job in vetting some of these people. Right?
Absolutely.
So you would think that if you get up there and say, I'm a Trump delegate, I'm for Trump, you would expect that the individual is going to be for Donald Trump on succeeding ballots. What we're finding out is you're getting people nominated and elected to national delegates saying they're for Trump, and then you look in their background and you're like, there's no way on earth this person's voting for Trump under any circumstances.
That's absolutely right.
That's where the stealing comes in, right?
Right, and I think that really what this comes down to, John, is that if you have a primary and somebody wins that primary, and then your candidate doesn't win, you have no option to go to the convention. And I'm sorry, that's really sad, but that doesn't mean that you need to go steal an election. And so, the Rubio people, the Bush people, all these supporters that didn't get any delegates, well, now they want to, just go take all the Trump delegates. Why have a primary then? We should just run a system like Colorado did in every state. If you're not going to care what people say. So, I just think the whole thing is, and I mean, I think Trump has every reason to be livid about it. For Cruz people to be running in his slots. And they're actually running the guy who was elected in the 9th district this weekend on the Trump ticket. Actually, it puts up the Cruz stuff on his materials. He's not even hiding it. He's saying, "Elect me because I'm a Cruz supporter that will take this vote away from Trump." That's crazy.
It really is. And this is going to fuel some of the outrage because the votes don't matter in this instance. I mean, you look at Virginia, again, I think there's a chance that out of 33 delegates, Trump ends up with 5 or 6 of them. Yet he carried a majority of the state. And so that math doesn't work, but you're right. There's an unholy alliance between Cruz and those people that are anti-Trump. And so they're getting together, ganging up, and that's exactly what's happened. And it's a very unholy alliance. And a lot of the Cruz people, it's kind of ridiculous because they think these anti-Trump people are going to vote for Cruz on the second ballot. There's no way they're voting for Cruz either. So you got a lot of nefarious things going on. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Ben, we're out of time, but I got to have you on every week because we got to be following this. And I got to get you back on this week because we just Vince Haley, who dropped out of the chairman's race, is now back challenging John Whitbeck at the state convention at the end of April. So there's intrigue going on there as well. That just happened last night. Ben, I'm out of time. I got to take off. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network. Want to follow Ben? At Not Larry Sabato.